On this episode of China Uncensored, I've heard the expression, spare the rod, spoil the child, but I'm pretty sure this is not the kind of rod they were talking about. Hi, welcome back to China Uncensored. I'm your host, Chris Chappell. Well, it's back to school time, kids, and you know what that means. New backpacks, freshly sharpened pencils, and mandatory military drills. Gotta be ready to give your life for the glorious Communist Party at any age. But one kindergarten in Shenzhen, the city where your iPhones are made, thought they'd try something a little different this year. Pole dancing. I think some of the kids kinda liked it. American journalist Michael Standard, whose kids went to this kindergarten, posted the pole dancing footage on Twitter. It had been circulating on WeChat among angry parents. Apparently, the principal of Xinshahui Kindergarten in Shenzhen thought pole dancing was the best way to welcome students into a new school year. According to Standard, the principal even personally performed a pole dance using the school flagpole, which is patriotic? Then she brought in another dancer, because obviously you can't just have one pole dance. Kindergartens in China are part of preschool education, so the kids at the school were between 3 and 6 years old. The principal, Lai Rong, defended her actions, saying the pole dancing was to liven up the mood. And I can understand, kids that age are hard to entertain. I mean, the school already did the military indoctrination thing over the summer, so there weren't a lot of options left. On the phone, the principal told Standard's wife that pole dancing was international and good exercise. She also told her that they were planning on having pole dancing classes at the school. The parents of the kindergarteners, however, were not thrilled. Many called the police, the media, and the local education bureau to complain. So this story went viral. Even the BBC had to cover it. Very improper. And once the story made Chinese and international headlines, the local education bureau decided it should probably make a statement. They said the pole dance was inappropriate and the principal should be fired. Well, she was. After the public outcry, Principal Lai apologized, saying it was a very terrible viewing experience for the kids and the parents. I mean, come on, the dancing wasn't that bad. Principal Lai also told the Washington Post, "I just want the kids to know the existence of this kind of dance." Perfectly reasonable. 3 to 6-year-olds should know about the existence of pole dancing. Principal Lai calls herself a pole dancing enthusiast and said that she started pole dancing to help her back and shoulder problems and even lost 20 pounds dancing. I guess this is just a case where her personal enthusiasm overwhelmed her professional boundaries. Like the time that producer Matt tried to build an entire set for China Uncensored out of Legos. That was not okay, Matt. I was stepping on Legos for weeks. But unlike Matt, I think Principal Lai can be forgiven, because pole dancing is even being pushed in state-run media, like my favorite, the Global Times. Okay, I think that one got lost in translation. That's more like dancing with poles. But here's another Global Times article that's, well, it's really not so much an article as it is just a series of pictures of women pole dancing. The headline is, "Hot Pole Dancing Staged in the Street," but it doesn't say which street, or even which country. What's that, Shelley? You're kidding. Poland. Poland? That's too good. Although that still doesn't explain why the Global Times would publish those photos. I guess it's a mystery. But the Global Times isn't the only state-run media pushing the pole dancing agenda. Here's a video from another state-run media, the English version of Xinhua.
The pole dance has become a way for people to keep fit, especially for girls and women.
And can I just say, the guy teaching that class is amazing. Check out his shirt. Yes, pole dancing is actually something of a fitness craze in China right now. It started 10 years ago, according to this New York Times article from 2008. I guess it's like the yoga fitness craze in America, only less spiritual and more vertical. According to CNN, hundreds of studios are popping up across the country. One of the pole dancing experts they interviewed said, at this point in the whole country, everywhere, every province, every corner, pole dancing is popular. Everyone has been exposed to this now. Yep, everyone, including kindergartners. But get this, pole dancing is so hot that China even has a national pole dance team and regularly hosts competitions in cities like Beijing and Hong Kong. Yes, China has established its own national pole dancing team. And according to Principal Lai, why shouldn't she be able to introduce pole dancing to the kids when there's even a pole dancing world championship? Well, there are plenty of things with world championships that I don't think should be introduced to young children, like Australian rules football or air guitar. But wait, if Principal Lai is saying that pole dancing is a prestigious international sport, then this starts to make sense. After all, the Chinese Communist Party considers it a matter of national pride to win international sports competitions. That's why, for the Olympics, they start the athletes out young and make them train brutally hard, all for the glory of future Olympic gold. Sure, Principal Lai has been fired from being a principal, but what if she's playing the long game here? She could combine her love of children with her love of pole dancing and open her own pole dancing schools for children. And then, one day, when pole dancing becomes a recognized Olympic sport, she'll have the last laugh. After all, it's not much weirder than race walking. You may seem confused, children, but someone else clearly sees a future of pole dancing gold medals. So what do you think about pole dancing at a Chinese kindergarten? Leave your comments below. And before you go, it's that time when I answer questions from fans who support China Uncensored on the crowdfunding website Patreon. Michigan Pizza asks, personally, China seemed less of a mess under Battletoad than under Pooh. Using the lingo like a pro. For those of you who don't know, Battletoad refers to this guy, Jiang Zemin, former leader of China. Winnie the Pooh is the current leader of China, Xi Jinping. I think it's obvious why they have those nicknames. So, Mr. Pizza, that's a common misconception. It's not that things are worse under Pooh, it's that they're more visibly bad. Things were horrible under Battletoad too, and in many ways they were worse. For example, Jiang Zemin had the idea to round up people for practicing Falun Gong, even though Falun Gong had been recognized by the government as being beneficial. Then, Jiang gave his security forces the order to, quote, ruin their reputations, bankrupt them financially, and destroy them physically. And destroy them he did. Millions of people were put in labor camps, detention centers, and prisons. We don't know exactly how many people were killed under Jiang, but it's likely in the tens of thousands, if not higher, including through his whole scheme to harvest their organs and sell them for profit. Plus, he directed a huge anti-Falun Gong media propaganda campaign. But there was no social media in China back in the 90s and early 2000s when Jiang Zemin was officially in power. And it was easier for the Communist Party to manipulate how foreign journalists reported on China. Most of the issues we're dealing with today, intellectual property theft, trade violations, currency manipulations, well, those things were happening under Jiang Zemin. He helped kick them off. It's just that it took 20 years for the rest of the world to catch on. I'm not saying Xi Jinping is a great guy and you should invite him to parties. Under Xi Jinping, we've definitely seen more news stories about arrests of lawyers, dissidents, and religious believers, like in Xinjiang. But I think partly that's because there's just so much more reporting now. There's information now passed through social media that could not have been possible 20 years ago, and state-run propaganda is not as effective anymore. So both leaders have done bad things. But it's also not just these two leaders. The Communist Party itself is the problem. The party is what creates the system where persecution of groups is easy as well as practically necessary to maintain power. So it doesn't matter which man is in charge, there will always be serious abuses while the Communist Party controls China. But I suppose, at least when it comes to mass murder, Jiang Zemin is probably the worst leader since Mao. Or, I guess, best if you're going for a gold medal for mass murder. Thanks for your question. In case you don't know, China Uncensored episodes are often getting demonetized by YouTube because the content is too controversial. So, we started crowdfunding the show on the website Patreon. If you sign up to support the show, you get some cool gifts, plus you can ask me questions that I may answer on the show. So, head over to patreon.com/China Uncensored to learn more. There's a link below. And don't forget to give a big thank you to all the patrons who made this show possible. Thanks for watching this episode of China Uncensored. Once again, I'm your host, Chris Chappell. See you next time. Did you know YouTube has been suppressing China Uncensored? Help the show by sharing this episode with your friends. And don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you'll get notifications whenever we have a new episode out.